Welcome back to the Carpenter Critique. My name is Luke Carpenter. I am your host. So glad to have you back. If this is your first time watching, welcome. But if you're a return listener, welcome back. It has been a week. I feel like nothing really interesting has happened to me this week, but I have seen a lot of movies this week. I've finally finished Euphoria. I finally finished Hacks. It is Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. Woo! I actually just got back from the movies. I saw Scary Movie 6 with some pals, so it was very fun. It has been kind of mellow paced for me, which is good. I'm not as busy as I usually am, so it's kind of a weird phase of life that I feel like I'm in. It's like post-college, post-grad school, and now it's just work. And I'm single. I travel for work, so nothing is really consistent. I don't know. It's kind of a fun stage of life where I feel like anything can happen, but also there's so many possibilities of what could happen out of life. I don't know. Feels like a lot of pressure to try to do everything in your life. It's just been an interesting phase of life because I don't feel like I have any big, huge things happening. And so it's kind of like, what do you do now that I'm done with school? And is this my future? Is this the rest of my life? Or like, what does it look like? And I don't know if everybody always thinks like this, but I feel like I'm always future thinking. And being in your mid-20s is such a weird time to plan because every time I come up with a plan, I feel like it falls in shambles or something happens where it pulls me to a different part of the country. And I don't know. Yeah, it's just a weird time to be like, okay, now I make something in my life as opposed to reacting to things happening in my life. So it's a good place to be, but also weird because I've never been in a place like this in my life before, emotionally or physically. You know, I'm the oldest I've ever been, but I'm the youngest I'll ever be. So, yeah, that is the mindset we're going into with this episode. So we are on, is it week 14? I'm already starting to lose track of the weeks. It's been over 3 months. I did my last episode. I know I've done episode 12, and I think I just finished episode 13. So this is episode 14. But it's so fun to have a project that is so consistent in my life and that I get to engage with other people in. I mean, I'm just happy that it connects a lot of my friends and family. This podcast has been a huge thing for people to bring up because I can't be with everyone all the time. Part of growing up is realizing that so many of the people that you love are just not going to live near you. Like I have friends in college that I love so much and live in Missouri. And I have a few friends moving. I have one friend moving to Japan. Happy birthday, Sarah. It was her birthday this week. But I have one friend moving to Japan later this year. And wow, it's just, I'm never going to have all of the people I love in one place. I think that's what makes weddings and birthdays so special, or like big events so special, is that it can bring so many people you love together. It just takes a huge thing to bring everyone together, because everybody's so busy, everybody's got a life. But it is part of a wonderful thing for growing up is that I have friends everywhere. But it's sad because I just want to see everybody all the time, and yeah. Okay, anyway, speaking of college, this episode is going to be all about Off Campus, the college drama that it was a smut, I believe. It was a smut book before. And now it is basically about a college girl who falls in love with the captain of the hockey team and all of the different hockey romances that happen on the team as well. So it's not just the central romance. The books, I guess, are written about a bunch of different hockey players on the team. Stick with me here because normally I do projects like I do podcasts about movies that I really like or shows that I really like, things that I was inspired by. And this one is more of like, it's very popular right now. And so let me see. I was like, you know what? Let me try it out, see what all the hype is about. I mean, I mean, it was good. No, it wasn't. It was so bad. It was so bad. I had to really push through all of those episodes. I tried. I tried to be a hockey girly. I tried to be in there. And a heated rivalry is enough. It's like, well, it's gay enough for me, but it's also like it's not about the hockey almost at all. And so I feel like that's why I'm intrigued. It's fun to be like with an athlete, but like it's so hetero. The show is super hetero, which is fine. It's just like ugh, sometimes the lines in it are so bad. So I guess if I didn't provide enough context, Off Campus is a show on Amazon Prime that follows our lead girl, Ella, or is that might be her real name. I think it's Hannah or something. Or Jennifer, or like one of these like really white girl names. Okay. The television series Off Campus, based on L. Kennedy's best-selling book series, follows a group of elite ice hockey players and women in their lives. Set at fictional Briar University, it blends college romance, sports drama, and the coming-of-age struggles of transitioning into adulthood. Ah, yay. Okay, so it's not that it's like horrible, it's just that all of the lines make me feel like I'm crazy. When characters say words, when the words come out of the character's mouth, it's like, is that what a human would say to another human? Just sometimes these dating or these very heteronormative shows just have these lines that make me feel like I'm not a human person. Okay, let me read you some of these lines. I took a list because I was like, there's no way that the writers wrote this and were like, yes, we know girls. College girls, we know how to write for these college girls. Let me tell ya. Okay, so I wrote a few down. Let me. Okay. From College Girl. I think you've imprinted on this girl's pussy. If a girl said that to me and I was in college, I'd be like, I did what? You referenced Twilight talking about your puss. Because I was, in college, I was gay, so I didn't know what a pussy was. Anyway, we're not move on. Okay. Oh, here's another one. Show me what you do to yourself when you're alone. Show me and I'll show you. Um, so like that's an actual line from the show. I'm not making this up. I wrote all of these down. That's an actual line from the show. I didn't write all of them down. I typed them on my computer, but okay, from our lead character, our heroine. She says, "Say, Garrett Graham, you are a sex god." The loaf of bread with abs, Garrett Graham. Also, oh, don't even get me started. Why was the show about the least cute one? No wonder the other storyline is eating you guys up. Dean and Allie's story is so much better, but also, I think he's fine looking. He looks like a coach, maybe a gym coach at my high school. He doesn't look like he's in college, first of all. He's definitely giving me 31, 32 with a beautiful 19-year-old woman. I'm like, well, also there's this huge element of the show where she's like, Garrett Graham, the captain of the hockey team, I can't believe you fall for a girl like me. Oh, the girl with the beautiful blue eyes and the huge boobs and lethal face card. You're surprised that the captain of the hockey team wants you? What? Also, I hate the fake dating trope. I have to say it. I think it worked in Bridgerton. I'm whenever has it worked again? Please in the comments let me know, when has the fake dating trope worked? Because almost all the time, whenever I see it in TV shows or movies, it never. I liked it in To All the Boys I Loved Before. Okay. I liked it there, but almost every other time I can think of, you can't just date. There is no reason for you to pretend to date. Even in this, there was no reason for them to pretend date. She could have just been his tutor. I don't know why the whole plot line had to be like they have to fake date. Because then it didn't even really impact the plot because they were actually falling for each other. And so when they actually fall for each other afterward, it's like, oh, well, yeah, well, they were dating. Oh, well, they were already dating. That's just so not interesting to me. I feel like it's boring and bland, and it only ever happens in movies. If someone fake dates in real life, I mean, I've never tried it actually. I should try it. Maybe I'll fake date someone and my mind will be completely changed. But otherwise, I'd never have tried it, and it just always seems stupid to me. Okay, let me read 2 more lines that I wrote down. Okay. It's a house party, bro. We need dippables. You need dips? You need dipping sauces? It's a house party, bro. We need dippables? Okay, if you said dippables around. You said dippables? Hello? What does that mean? Oh, here. This is just some hockey boy talk. The writers are like, oh, the hockey boys' locker room, we know how to write that too. First, we know girls. The first thing we know, this is the writers, by the way. The first thing we know is we know college girls. We're gonna write for them, don't we? You imprinted on this pussy, honey. Hey, Twilight, did you imprint right here? Classic hockey bro talk. My chest is not a thing. Other women seem to like it just fine. I'm so sorry, women. If a straight hockey player has ever said that to you, my chest is not a thing. Other women seem to like it just fine. If a straight man says that to you, I would run. Them referring to their chest as not a thing. Also, I just can't do that. I can't do that. Ugh, don't talk about your chest. Don't talk about it. Why are you talking about it as if it's not a part of you? It is. It's a part of you. That's your chest. Okay. Sorry, you see why this show was so hard for me to get through? I watched it in 2 days, but it was still, I was trudging. I was trudging my feet, getting through it. I will say, the boys are very cute, so if you're watching it and you want to watch hot boys, they are very attractive. The girls are beautiful as well. Holy crap. The girl that plays Hannah, she is gorgeous, and she's so funny. I honestly felt like she is the reason why this show works so well. Sure, it has like the hockey romance and smut and everything, but she has this charisma on screen. I was like, okay, I see why people like this show, because she's very likable. I really like her. And also, the girl that plays Allie, baddie. Bad. She walked in that JLo dress, all jaws on the floor. Her body is tea. I love her hair. Face is so cute, so beautiful. She's so sexy, but in a cute way. She's theatery. I love a theater girl. Ugh. Yeah, the girls in the show are absolute baddies. I'm excited for Dean and Allie in season 2, for sure. I also think they're probably the more interesting couple. I know that's not really a hot take because everybody is saying that, but it's true. The best episodes of the show are definitely the ones that are more centered around Dean and Allie. I feel like Hannah and Garrett kind of works because I think Hannah's fun and she's cringy, but also in a cute way. Garrett, I'm just kind of like, but it's fine. You know, he works perfect as the straight man lead. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing really that interesting about him. I feel like I'm looking at a loaf of bread with abs whenever I see him. But whatever. I feel like that's what girls want. They just kind of want a guy to be hot and not to say too much and just be nice. That's really where the standards are right now. And a lot of times the girls will settle for if you're not hot, as long as you're nice, which is a pretty low bar, but still surprisingly hard to meet. If you're dating men, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to say about the show. I mean, it went exactly where I thought it would go. It was fun show to watch with your girls. Or honestly, it's a fun show to shit on because it's just so far from my college reality. Also, they introduced a few gay characters and they're in it for maybe 1 second and then we never hear from them again. And then there's one non-binary person and you wouldn't know that, though, unless they referred to themselves as them, which they do, I think, once. And then other than that, that's it. So a lot of people are praising it for being so realistic about the rape storyline, which I think is good, but I feel like they half-assed that storyline. I feel like they could have made it more drama if they wanted it to, and they didn't really go that far into PTSD. I think they did a little bit, but I think mainly due to the actress. I thought she was really good, but if they gave it to anyone else, it wasn't like the writing gave space for a great performance in that criteria. Anyway, I thought the show was fine. I'm going to watch season 2. They've got me hooked now. And frankly, I want to stay up to date with Allie and Dean. I'm going to shit on the show all I want, but I really did like Allie and Dean. They were really cute. I liked that romance a lot. Very fun, although she does kind of put up these random barriers in the relationship that make no sense. She's like, well, dating a hockey player, that's Hannah's dream. I can't take that away from her. Girl, there's like 17 to 27 of them. She can't have the whole team. She has Garrett. And honestly, that's fine. I wouldn't even choose Garrett if it was me, but whatever. Take Dean. Just start dating Dean. Your boyfriend sucks. Your ex-boyfriend, he sucks. Literally no one cares about them. No one cares about him at all. So, I don't know. I feel like the show was trying to put up barriers in their relationship, and it's like, they can just be happy together. It's totally fine. But yeah, without further ado, I think let's just start on the psychology article. I'm ready to dive in. So, diving into the study and the psychology of everything, I do want to credit Off Campus by saying that I do think each of the characters goes through their own arc, and they do go through something that I think would be hard to go through by the time they're in college. And so even though the writing is sucky and I feel like there's not really any great revelations I had while watching this, it's okay to watch just some like smutty college show. And I do think each character has a little bit of a journey with resilience. So I decided to look up some psychology studies on resilience, and I found this article by Pusong. It's called Analyzing Psychological Resilience in College Students. This study investigates what factors best predict psychological resilience among students that are in college. In this post-pandemic era, rather than simplifying or examining correlations between the students, the researchers just used a decision tree model, a machine learning technique, to identify which factors most strongly distinguish students with high versus low resilience. So this study, I think, was a really important one, especially after COVID. Part of Gen Z has gone through this weird time of being in high school and college during a global lockdown. Um, so like first person in my family to ever go through a global lockdown while being in college, right? That's so weird. But a lot of Gen Z was in high school or in these rather formative teenage years when the COVID pandemic happened. And so it had a really interesting effect, and I think we're noticing now we're still in this online era. People are still having crazy screen time, and we cannot function without our phones right now. But I think because of the pandemic, we understand there's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge or some fake knowledge, and a lot of people know their algorithm and stuff like that. Our vocabulary has changed. We've gone more online than we have in person, and part of our upbringing is the internet, and part of my personality is in my phone, which is crazy to say, and I'm definitely spending a lot of my time looking at screens, and that's not normal. This has never happened to humans before. And so now we're looking into it. And I think it's a really important study because through the pandemic, we noticed that a lot of Gen Z people or people who were in college at the time have increased stress and uncertainty. We experienced social isolation during a rather social time, or supposed to be a social time of our lives. There's academic disruption to people who couldn't or didn't have an environment to learn at home. That year or 2 years, 3 years was really hard because you had to figure out how to learn in an environment where you weren't used to learning before, or try to figure out how your brain works when you can hear your family fighting in the living room. You know, it's just a different, it was a different time. And so we a lot of times talk about resilience in, I would say, more physical resilience or enduring hardships and everything. I think there's a psychological resilience that has a lot of power, but we're finally getting around to addressing it because a lot of the Gen Z population has to have this psychological resilience because it's just a different world now. And so this is a really important research study, and when I found it, I was like, I think this would really resonate with off-campus viewers. The author looked up several factors that came from previous research. So they found that self-esteem contributed to resilience, school belonging, subjective well-being, so happy students or students who would report higher life satisfaction were more resilient. Academic procrastination was associated with not being resilient. Same with internet gaming addiction and life autonomy. So they decided to do their own study, and through a machine learning decision tree model, they then asked 776 college students, students from Chinese universities and various demographic backgrounds. They gathered information on self-esteem, school belonging, subjective well-being, pro-environmental behavior, academic procrastination, internet gaming addictions, life autonomy, and academic achievement. And then all of this and how those factors contributed to their psychological resilience. And if I'm speaking in too big of words, psychological resilience is like, I would frame it to be people who can keep a good head on their shoulders even in a really hard time of their life. So how do we grow this in the next generation? How do we make sure our next generation is prepared to have good mental health? And I think this is a really important issue because Gen Alpha, we're still trying to figure out how the internet affects the brain. I mean, there's tons of science on it, but it's not going away. We need the internet. We need our phones. And the way that technology is advancing, we've got to figure out a way to keep mental health stable, especially for our young kids. So I love this. I really, really love the study. So the traditional research focused a lot on surveys, focused a lot on their previous models or maybe different experiments, but this decision tree model was putting more the student in control, so where they were reporting their behavior. That is a little bit of a limitation of the study, but it's also a self-report thing. So if they can trust 776 students, there's probably a good amount that they can maybe even out. So people who report themselves really well or over-report themselves versus people who don't report enough on themselves, they've got a pretty good sample size to record the data. So what they found was that self-esteem was the most powerful predictor of resilience. So people with high self-esteem had confidence, high adaptability, emotional stability, and then really effective coping strategies. The researchers suggest that self-esteem acts as a psychological foundation. So how you think of yourself, what you think of your own identity, all those things. People who had very high self-esteem were often more resilient, which is cool. When students believe that they are capable and valuable, they are more likely to face challenges directly, view setbacks as just temporary, and recover more quickly from adversity. I think adults could learn from this. If we have high self-esteem as an adult, you totally face challenges more directly. You can view setbacks as temporary. We got to keep telling ourselves this. School belonging was the second strongest predictor. I would more interpret this as a community belonging. If you feel connected to your peers and accepted by the people maybe above you in your life, or you see as more mentors, and in this they say faculty, but probably people that you look up to. If you feel accepted by the people that you look up to, then you're integrated into your community life. They showed greater resilience, and oftentimes this contributes to emotional support, social resources, and basically social validation, knowing that you'll be okay if something goes wrong, you can reach out to people. Pro-environmental behavior predicted resilience. So if you want to save the world, you're more willing to recycle, and if you're participating in conservation efforts, sustainable lifestyle choices, you are looking towards resilience, which is great. Also, subjective well-being was important, but it's not just that people are born happy or more satisfied with life. I think sometimes it's just a glass half full type of thing, but also it wasn't the most powerful predictor, which I think is cool. Academic procrastination reduced resilience. But girl, I'm a procrastinator, but I totally understand. If you feel like you have accomplished things, then you absolutely think you can accomplish more things versus you're not thinking about the things that you still have to do, which totally get. If you have autonomy in your own life, that enhanced resilience as well. So you feel like you can make decisions confidently, maintain motivation. Internet gaming addiction was a negative predictor. Duh. So like, if I'm spending all my time gaming, I probably am not going to face life challenges. But I mean, I love gaming. We shouldn't shit on gaming that much, except sometimes it's horrible. Academic achievement, though, played a much smaller role than everybody thought. So even though if your grades were good, a lot of the studies suggest that your social perception, your self-perception, your relationships with other people, and your emotional well-being were more important than your grades alone to keep this psychological resilience. That's why I'm saying we gotta teach these kids some social emotional learning. That is what this podcast is all about. How can we socially learn and emotionally learn from what we see on television, from what we see in the media? This model had over 70% accuracy. What? That is great. About 3 out of 4 students were correctly classified regarding their resilience level. Wow, 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 wow. This study was really meaningful and also was really efficient because it clearly works. So some practical implications, like the author suggests, we need to focus on building self-esteem in young people, increasing belonging in community, reducing procrastination, and supporting well-being. Which, when I say this out loud, it's like, duh, but also, this is really a lot of the priorities in schools I would say is mismatched. We are focused so much on grades, but I do think we have to take into consideration the social and emotional needs of the children. Well, I say children, these are college students. They're going through a lot, and it's their first time being an adult. So, of course, I feel like it makes sense that it would be a time in your life that would be a time to build resilience. If colleges focused a little bit more on that, it might change the way education is perceived, but also I think the way college works is meant to build resilience, just maybe not in the way that they're intending. I think the bottom line takeaway, though, from the study is that resilience is more driven by how students see themselves and how connected they feel to others than by academic performance. The way the pathway works is that it goes if you have high self esteem or if you have strong community belonging, you have greater well being and adaptive behaviors, and you have a higher resilience and a higher chance that you can take on life's challenges. Awesome. So the study shows us that students who feel valued, capable, and connected may be the ones to watch for the future. Of course. So let's bring it back into off campus. I'm going to apply this to our main characters. So how do our main characters fit into this like resilience box? What do they use their resilience for? How do they face their challenges? So Garrett Graham is a big self-esteem paradox. The study found that self-esteem was the single strongest predictor of resilience. And at first glance, Garrett appears to have incredibly high self-esteem. He's the star hockey player. He's the big man on campus. All the guys look up to him on the team. All the girls want to flirt with him. He gets nonstop messages. Yet beneath the surface, that confidence is significantly covering up all this emotional damage stemming from his relationship with his abusive father. The show really does emphasize the struggle and his difficulty forming really healthy emotional connections because he doesn't have a lot in his life. What's fascinating about Garrett is that he demonstrates a key distinction that the study talks about, which is external confidence is not the same as healthy self-esteem. His resilience doesn't truly emerge until he begins building a more authentic sense of himself through his relationship with Hannah. The research suggests that the resilience grows within Garrett when individuals genuinely believe that they have value, or if he has value, not merely when they project confidence. In other words, hockey gives Garrett status, and Hannah helps Garrett develop his own self-worth. The study would predict that the second factor matters much, much more. So that's cute. Hannah helps him have his own self-esteem and connect a healthy relationship to himself, which is kind of cute. All right, so let's talk about Hannah. I think Hannah is way more of the belonging factor. So the study identified school belonging or community belonging as the second strongest predictor of resilience. Hannah may be the clearest embodiment of this finding because we find throughout the entire book and also throughout the show, she enters Briar University feeling very disconnected and isolated. She opens up about her really rough time at home because she was a victim of rape, and when she tried to tell the truth, it just caused a lot of problems for everyone close to her, and everyone she talked to about it ended up being implicated in some way. Because the guy who raped her was a man of status and a man on a hockey team. I mean, I hate that now she's dating a hockey player, but whatever. I guess it healed a part of her, so I guess that's good. Though she is really talented and intelligent, she often feels like she's an outsider. So what changes? It's not her grades, it's not her talent, it's her social support network. As Hannah becomes integrated into Garrett's friend group and develops these deeper friendships, especially with Allie, as she starts to open up more within her relationship with Garrett and also her relationship with Allie. She gets deeper friendships. She gains exactly what the researchers describe as a resilience enhancing factor, which is belonging. The study argues that feeling accepted provides emotional resources during really stressful periods of life. And Hannah's healing journey mirrors that process almost perfectly. For me too, I think that would probably be where my big sense of resilience comes from. I know when I go through the roughest parts of my life, I have to open up to the people that are closest to me. And if I feel more connected in my community, I feel like I can do it and I feel more strong about myself. And so it kind of all blends together, but a community really helps me when I'm in a hard time. John Logan is more of a low resilience character. I feel like maybe his book, I haven't read any of the other books, but I feel like he maybe builds his self-esteem and resilience in his book. But as far as what we've seen from him, He's a very low resilience character, and it's because he avoids a lot of his feelings. He avoids his feelings for Hannah, he avoids how he feels about his mom until people give him that push to finally admit how he feels to himself. So, Logan spends much of his story running from the difficult realities of life. His future, family pressures, emotional vulnerability, and any romantic type of commitment. Rather than confronting the challenges directly, he often delays decisions until the circumstances force action. The study would likely classify Logan as someone whose resilience is really compromised, not because he lacks strength, but because he relies on avoidance-based coping strategies. So he's a procrastinator, and he doesn't really attack his life's challenges full on. It's not that he is not resilient, he just doesn't have the willingness to engage with the emotion of fear. He is not willing to be afraid, so he'd rather just be disconnected. Now, Dean De Laurentiis, I love Dean. He is the mask of high self-esteem. So he's projecting this onto all the girls he sleeps with. The whole team thinks he's this massive player, which he is. But it's all a mask. As we see, Dean might be the most psychologically interesting character of the series. What? Of course. The study repeatedly emphasizes that resilience comes from authentic self-esteem and meaningful relationships. Dean initially appears to possess neither. He hides behind his humor, his charm, his casual relationships, constant social validation, and constant sex. Yet when he meets Allie, this idea that he's built of himself starts to crumble. Their relationship really forces him to confront deeper emotion and deeper needs and his deeper vulnerabilities. It's not that he's fully opened up yet, because he isn't, but they've definitely started showing the cracks. He's definitely not close with his family, and he is a rather needy boy, but I'm thinking he's a lover boy, and I think a lot of people are really drawn to his character because he has this wall. And we love a mysterious king. Especially a guy who acts like he's not mysterious, and then he ends up being mysterious. Hello. That is the recipe. We need a male lead like that. All of Dean's experiences really align with the study's central finding, which is people become more resilient when they develop genuine self-worth rather than relying on external validation. And Dean's evolution is really essential to building his resilience, because it's kind of an intervention within his character, that it's not all this external validation that's giving you strength. It's your relationship with Allie, because it's genuine and real. I feel like in college, I got external validation all the time from everyone, and I was so deeply connected to a community there. And even in grad school, I felt like I was constantly seeing friends, and I was constantly hearing how good I was doing because I was good at school. And also you get these validations of just being close with, when you have a really good community, you feel good about yourself. And I had a really good group of friends throughout. So when I ended grad school, it was pretty hard to deal with. I moved away instantly from all my friends, and not that I wasn't receiving this external validation. Actually, I really wasn't receiving any external validation all the time, and I was away from my community. So naturally my self-esteem started to deplete. And if you're not developing this genuine sense of self-worth, then of course I think your psychological resilience is not going to be as strong as it could be if you have developed a really good relationship with your internal self and boosting up yourself. Sometimes you just have to be your number one supporter, and it's hard. But in life, I think it's a really good skill to learn, because if no one else is going to build me up, I got to build me up. But let's look at our most resilient character, Miss Motherfucking Allie Hayes. Now, I love her. She's my favorite character, though sometimes she pisses me off and I'm like, just date Dean. I do think she's the most baddie, and I love her. Okay, so if the researchers had designed a fictional student to represent resilience, it would look like Allie. The study found that resilient students often possess strong autonomy, Allie, social connectedness, Allie, positive well-being, Miss Allie, and a healthy self-regard. I think that's Allie. Allie consistently demonstrates these characteristics. She maintains boundaries, she advocates for herself, she refuses to lose her identity inside her romantic relationships. I would describe her character as very independent. And I said there's this unwillingness to change the way she presents to people. She is willing to wear the wacky outfits. She is just extremely herself. And that is kind of what gets her through all of her situations. Even if it's kind of a mess in her romantic situations, she's going to get through it because she has a really strong sense of self-worth. Unlike several of the hockey players, Allie doesn't need a major transformation to become resilient. She already is. Her journey is less about discovering resilience and more about learning to trust others while maintaining her own. And I think that is another skill in and of itself. If I'm taking good care of myself, how do I help others take care of themselves without losing myself in that? But if I'm going to start wrapping this up, the real hero of Off Campus is not the romance, it's the resilience. The study ultimately argues that resilience develops through self-esteem, belonging, well-being, and autonomy, shown by our characters in Off Campus. Interestingly, these are the 4 healthiest relationships in Off Campus. Garrett learns self-worth through his journey. Hannah finds belonging with her community. Logan learns accountability. Dean develops authentic vulnerability with himself, and Allie models healthy autonomy. Research suggests that resilience isn't built by avoiding hardship. Off Campus suggests the same thing. The characters become stronger, not because their lives get easier, but because they find people who help them face difficult realities without facing them alone. That combination of self-worth plus connection is precisely what the study identified as the strongest pathway toward resilience. Thank you so much for listening. That is all I have for you today. And I do recommend you watch Off Campus. Even if it's a tough watch, I think you'll find it funny. And yes, even if you don't like it, let me know. Please engage with the content. If you want to follow me on any social media, I'm at The Carpenter Critique on all social media platforms. You can listen on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.